Friday night. We are in the magnificent Vernon. It is the business. It's just down from Moorfields as you head in a general sort of St George's Hall direction. If you never want to know, that's where it is. The Latham Lounge out the back, I absolutely adore it. Don't come too often, it's where I go to hide. So we just be crystal clear on that one. Don't get carried away.
Definitely should have told them that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's one of those, isn't it? You know, could go either way, this sort of thing.
Don't come to Neil's super fun sneaky bunker.
Yeah, just down there in the back, sit round the little side there, no one can see you, just
it's not
settle
really
in.
called the Vernon, it's called something else.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Got my book, quite happy. Anyway, I've got Josh Sexton, I've got Kev Walsh, I've got Mick Moran to go through a little bit of last night, the bigger picture, and then also prepare ourselves for the biggest game of our lives. And we are, as ever, in association with the marvellous people at Erdinger. Josh, just to start with the obvious, you used to do loads of work around the under 21s, under 18s. Players getting that opportunity and then grabbing it. When you used to be around the setup as much as you were, the one thing that you always used to say was the boost it gave everyone. Yeah. If everyone can see the pathway, everyone gets excited, and McConnell will have really given a lot of people a boost last night.
Yeah, and listen, it helps you sell it to, you know, future recruits as well. The reason Liverpool are able to get their hands on lads like Rio and Gamoa, lads like Trey Naoni is that they're able to say, you know, there's opportunities here. It's not just the idea that, you know, because Man City could sell, for example, the idea that an academy player plays for Manchester City reserves for a bit, goes and gets a Football League move, or maybe even a move to somewhere in Europe if they're particularly special, but they're never going to touch that Manchester City first team really. They might make a bench in the FA Cup or something, but otherwise they're nowhere near it, whereas Liverpool can always sell that thing, and I presume that would be one of the prerequisites of slot, because I think we were all a little bit worried about that when Klopp left, weren't we, that maybe that would be the thing that sort of falls by the wayside, but it feels like Slot's got a good grip of that as well. He's got a track record of doing it at PSV, and you see it with McConnell, and I mentioned this on Five Things with Beth before as well, that, you know, there's that almost wild card midfield position of the young lad to come through is up for grabs now, because Bajcetic has, you know, had his progress stalled. He's just had his loan changed round to today to go to Las Palmas now. Tyler Morton is not somebody who I think has got much of a long-term future at Liverpool Football Club. I think he's at the level.
Wouldn't be surprised if he moves before Monday.
Exactly.
By the way, the transfer deadline's Monday.
Yeah, we both thought it was tomorrow.
Not that we fucked up, Josh.
Listen, it was usually on the 31st of January. I'm saying it's no longer because of reasons unknown to us. Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So yeah, Tyler Morton could well move on. It feels like, you know, he's at the level of experience now where the next step in his progression is a move away. But James McConnell, I think you see last night, has got, you know, loads to learn and to flourish in doing so at Liverpool, and it was great to see him looking like a lad who's, you know, I've seen people calling it his breakout performance. It's not. His breakout performance was, you know, Carabao Cup finals and things last season. This is coming of age performance really. It was such an all-round masterclass from him in midfield, and it was great to see.
I like that he's big, obviously, inevitably, but he is. I actually think he looks. Well, I think he looks more physically imposing, I thought, in this than he did last season, and that's one of the things that you want. He turns 21 this year, and I think, you know, there's a big difference. Trey Naoni is still, you know, this year he's 17. He's only 17. You know, you're in a position with McConnell where that's a big 4 years, but also it's a big time physically as well for a footballer, and I thought that you got to see that. To me, I remember seeing his first game last season when he plays against Norwich in the fourth round of the FA Cup and thinking, can he get it? He looked knackered on the hour mark. He didn't look knackered yesterday. You know, there's a lot of growth here. It was such an impressive performance.
It was. I think you summed it up quite well, Josh, with saying coming of age performance, because I think it was one of them where the little like movements, dribbling and the bursting through the spaces, I loved that, like the little bits, and then like passing into the wings and stuff. I thought it was just a proper performance where it was like, it's a massive one for him, but he took it completely. And I know like people don't want to get over the top and say, oh, this is like, I know, I won't mention Kev, because I heard last night calling best midfielder in the world. And
I fully stand by my
stands by every word, until he changed it in an hour.
Every single word I've ever said, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he really impressed me, and yeah, like League Cup final, he was really good, but I think this one is like, the assurity in his performance, in his passing and stuff like that. I think all that stuff. I think it doesn't help that he looks 12.
The face,
yeah, his face. He looks really young, doesn't he? So I don't think that helps him in that regard. But obviously that's a weird, mad thing that we don't have to worry about. But in terms of like his performance on the field and how good he is, and I think it speaks volumes that Slot after the game said like, we're looking at loans, but this one is definitely one that we're not going to be looking at in the future now, because and you can guess who it's going to be, and then someone had to kind of guess who it was, and it was James McConnell. But I think his performance spoke volumes about like gathering that trust, but like we said, like the pathway and these players coming in and getting a chance and proving it and showing not just like assurance on the ball, but ability to throw into tackles, winning headers, all of the stuff that you need in that midfield area. He was doing a lot.
He was. It looked to me like, you know, again, without sort of overstating it, somebody could do with alone his dance. You know, I was looking at it, and it was one of those really where when he did something good, it was very good.
Yeah.
But it was how he was getting himself involved in the game all the time in terms of getting on his hold-up play. You know, you wouldn't be surprised to see him go out on loan by the time he gets to Monday.
Yeah, I think it was one of them, because the Núñez sickness, I think it did feel like exactly that. Like, Núñez was primed to play, and Dan's been called in last minute, drafted in. Like, you're going to be playing in 10 minutes, lad, by the way, just so you know. Get your boots on, one of them. But yeah, I think he'd done some nice things. There's a bit on the left-hand side first half, I think, where he drifts past someone and gets absolutely clattered. I
was going to say, he got kicked everywhere.
Got smashed all over the gaff, but it's all about these moments where it helps them build up the character as players and stuff, do you know what I mean? So this is all like character building, if you like. But I think alone for in his regard, I think would be best, because we've got like the forwards we've got, like with Chiesa and like the main lot. He's not going to get in ahead of them, and I think, but there is talent there, and he's a local lad and all that stuff, so that needs to be factored in. So I think alone would probably be best, like long term.
I think with the way the whole format went in the end last night, Kev, there wasn't the big story in terms of, oh God, someone's gone out. City being the main ones that people thought about. But there's a ton of jeopardy. I would not want to be in that playoff in terms of where we are at the minute with the number of games and what we're going for in terms of the league, number one. But also number two, you know, City themselves, they're getting Bayern Munich or Real Madrid. Real Madrid or Bayern Munich are getting Man City. I bet you they're not happy about that themselves going the other way. It's important to say how well the squad's done and the manager's done to make sure that was just never Liverpool's business, all the way up to and including last night.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams in Europe will be looking at the way Liverpool have done it this season and be thinking, well, next season we need to be primed to hit the ground running just the way they have there. It wouldn't surprise you if maybe this year a few people have thought, oh, we'll just sort of feel our way through this.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be fine. You know, how many points are you really going to need type of deal? And the problem with that is, like, a draw and a loss, and you're like, oh my God, we're behind the 8 ball already here. And then it makes it more difficult, doesn't it? So it wouldn't surprise me if the teams that have struggled, the likes of your Cities, PSG, Real Madrid even, who wouldn't have been great if they went out. I know there was never any real jeopardy of that, like, but I think if loads of teams like that will go, okay, we need a different plan for this next year. We can't just see what happens, because see what happens ends up in, as you're saying there, a two-legged tie against one of the European giants. So the week we play City, Real Madrid City have got Real Madrid or Bayern Munich on the Wednesday before, and we've got a free away, and we've got a free game, a free week. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That it's absolutely enormous. And in terms of, imagine if you're going up against them for the title. I know we're not this year, but that'd be one hell of a psychological boost, wouldn't it? If you could think they are going to come back battered and bruised, whether they go through or not. Yeah. And if they go out, that's a real psychological effect, isn't it? So I think a lot of teams will look at it next year and think we need to have some sort of plan formulated before that first game. And for me, I really enjoyed it, mate. I think the old group stage was a little bit boring. I'm not saying every game in this was dead exciting, because it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
But it's never going to be, do you know what I
mean? We were all at Bologna.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. You're never going to have games like that at Anfield where the jeopardy doesn't really exist if you are Liverpool. Although I suppose you could say the same thing about City and Real Madrid, and they put the jeopardy in by not playing as well as Liverpool have done. So, yeah, overall for me, I'm into the new format, and I like the idea that because we have done so well in this part, it matters. Do you know what I mean? We get rewarded for being absolutely fantastic with 2 games off, but also we're at home in the second leg of the next round, which is, you can say, well, it's not that much of a major thing, but I'll tell you what, when the draw's made and it's random and you come out and that is your draw, you're absolutely delighted with it. You know, we already knew we had that.
This is the thing I was going to say, is like the reward is to come, and that means like the jeopardy is to come as well. Like, I think everyone's looked at this like group sort of league phase as a whole and been like, oh yeah, there's still no jeopardy in that because all the big teams still made it through. But yeah, all the big teams have made it through, but now they're in a playoff, and that's the difference in what we've seen before, is that they're going to have to now play this extra game. As Kev said, it's got to be wedged in with all the other games that are there, and that's when you look at it and you think, like, you know, for the 3 sort of giants of European football in recent times in particular, you know, City, Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, they're not going to be looking at and being like, well, there's no jeopardy in this. They're going to be like, oh, we've slipped up there.
Well, there's 8 teams in the top 8, obviously. Yeah. There was 9 teams in each of the pots. 3 of them in the top 8. There's 3 from pot 1, 3 from pot 2, 1 from pot 3 and 1 from pot 4. Yeah. You know, and that is first and foremost nowhere near as everyone said, oh, all the pot 1 teams will just cruise it. That was the first thing that everyone just sort of shrugged their shoulders and went, well, that hasn't happened. 3 of the pot 1 teams have done it. Then everyone went, well, it won't make that much difference, because what, you know, you go on. I think the big thing is, the thing that I think really changes it is pot 4 teams get to play pot 4 teams. Yeah. In the past, when you were in the group, if you were the pot 4 team, well, guess what? You stood on the rake and you're getting it in the face over and over. Whereas you at least get 2 games that you can go into and think, well, this is meant to be our level. But guess what? If you're then in good nick, and like Villa have been and Lille have been, you know, you get to play 2 pot 3 teams. But also the teams that are in pot 1, they don't get to go, well, we don't have to play anyone good. Yeah. Real Madrid had to come to Anfield, sorry boys, but that's the way it got. And I think I think it's so much fairer than the previous system in allowing for all that. There's no advantage to being in any pot, because you've got to play at least one really good team, at least on paper, all the way down. So it's 2, one home, 1 away, all the way down. I think that's what's made the massive difference.
Yeah, and that's where I think I'm sort of slightly surprised at UEFA's approach to it, really, in the sense that, like, I understand why everybody's looking for this is going to benefit the big teams, because that's generally, it feels like that's the way it goes in football, is everything is done to benefit the big teams. But really in this, I don't see that being the case. Like Kev said before, it's basically stopped allowing the big teams to rest on the laurels. Like I think in any other Champions League season, City would have been able to get away with the start they've had to the season in the Champions League. Yeah. Because they've still made it through the group stage.
Worst they'd have come second.
Exactly. Like they'd have snotted whoever was in pot 4, like you know, Slaven Bratislava, whoever it was that finished like bottom of the league phase. They would have been the whipping boys of somebody else's group, and probably had it worse really than they had it on the whole in this, which is, you know, some do it now, but they had it in this.
Maybe you can talk to the councillors about that in a couple of weeks or months.
But that's the thing. If you are City, you realise that, you know, that extra, I don't want to keep using the word jeopardy, but almost like motivation is there now, that, you know, we do have to have a different approach to this. We can't just go into this thinking, oh yeah, well, we know we're going to pick up points here and there, because it's not going to be the case. And there's going to be teams who, you know, conversely to that some of the sort of lesser teams or the lesser, you know, European experienced teams on that top stage are going to come into it and be like, we can bloody the nose some of the big boys. Yeah. They're like, look at Celtic. Celtic are a team who like religiously finish bottom of groups. I think probably one of their best ever finishes in recent years was them getting in third and going into the Europa League. They've suddenly, we're in dreamland for a little bit, fallen into the playoff, but still have that chance sort of hanging in the balance there. So if you are a team like Celtic who are coming into it, you're going to be looking at it going, we've got a chance here of making a bit of noise. And listen, the big boys might still get through in the end, but they're going to have loads of games to contend with now, at least in this variance of it, and look ahead to this playoff with excitement.
We might get PSG, got to roll with that, but it looks to me as though if we get to the quarters, if we've got PSG, I feel a little bit like we're going to get a bit of an easier on them, because it bends back into our favour. Then at that point, Arsenal could well get someone like Atletico Madrid, which is no battle of laughs at that stage. You've got to roll with the punches. It's still a draw. There's still random elements. So if it is PSG, then we've just got to say bring them on.
Yeah, and Slot said, didn't he, like after the game, like what we're going to draw, like PSG. He didn't mention PSG by name, but he said you're going to get there's one team there that you don't want to draw, and it's probably going to be PSG. Unfortunately, we're probably going to get them. But yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I had this like discussion in the WhatsApp group. Like, is it better this way? Is it better the old way? But like, when you like discuss that, like you've just been doing there, like there, it does make more sense. Like the way we're doing it now. Obviously, it's like the first time, so it's like.
So we'll see.
We don't know until like next year, when we're like obviously how it's gone this year and stuff. But I think it's a nice change, and yeah, like just playing Madrid at home, which is nice. Like not having to go to their gaff and endure that was nice. But yeah, I think it's one of them. Like obviously we're going to talk about Bournemouth in a minute. It's one of them. Like, I don't fear anyone, and that's the way we're primed at this season. We're just like. You can be a bit nervous about our games, and you can be like, oh, they're like Bournemouth are in decent form and X, Y, and Z are in decent form, but we're just showing like different levels, and even like putting out like the team we did against PSV, we still gave a good fist of it. And you think how many players we didn't have in there.
It wasn't even our second team.
It's ridiculous.
When they were Olay, lads, you played our third team.
I know, well, that was just laughing me ass off the end there when they were doing all that shit.
It was the maddest end of the game, wasn't it? The goal going all after like getting sent off. I was like, this is fucking great. People are just dead enjoyable to watch.
They're cheating up the crowd and all. It's like, lads, like this is our like under-9s team.
Wouldn't it be funny if did they get through in?
They did, but we can't get them until
the final.
Yeah,
and we beat them 52-0. Oh, wait, that dickhead.
I did have one man, and I was like, I hope we draw them and just like absolutely snot them like 20-0 or something. But yeah, I think it's one of them. Like I don't fear anyone, so it's like everyone's gonna be looking at us, and that's like such a privileged position to be in, where they're gonna be looking at us going, fucking hell, we don't Liverpool here, because if we get them, like they're just fucking impervious, like so.
Yeah, PSG are looking going, no, please, not them, please. I'm looking at PSG thinking they're decent, but there's no way that they go into that tight favourites. We will 100% be the favourites, and for good reason. I look at the rest of that competition, and obviously Real Madrid is scary when it gets to the knockout stages, but there's no one in there who I think, oh, I'd hate to draw them. Yeah. And when you look at the permutations for getting through, as you said there, to the semi-final stage, You don't want to sound cocky because you guys you said before.
Well, Atalanta beat us last season.
Well, yeah, but in like a knockout stage over 2 legs, you'd be confident against anyone there.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why you don't be too cocky, but you back the boys in a minute. That's the way in which it goes. Yeah. What was your highlight of part 1?
The James McConnell chat.
Was it? My highlight of part 1 was when Josh used religiously in the context of Celtic. It is. It's a pleasure. It's Friday night. We'll be back in a minute or two.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
Alright then, we are back. It is a pleasure. We're in the Vernum. We're there, Erdinger. It is Friday night and it is the Anfield Wrap. You were going to say before about Bournemouth, not scared of anyone. At the minute, there's no one we look at and think, you know, they should be coming and fancying themselves home or away. I think we've got a level of confidence about this team. Only lost once all season in the league, Mick, etc, etc. That said, Bournemouth look like a really, really good side at the moment.
They do. Third in the XG chart, apparently. I don't know how big the Anfield Wrap people are in terms of like stats and that, but that's a big one. I think.
I know where I'm up to.
I know the XG.
I know the X. I've met the G.
met them all. No, I think they're a decent side. Like I think it's like Clive. I think like it's one of them. Like I had a lot of chat like on our pod. Like he's where's this? Like I don't know. People are saying like he's been good all season, but obviously you don't watch them all the time. And then
he's in a rich vein of form.
You're seeing like these goals flying in. You're like, fucking hell, he is actually absolutely smashing. He's been as good as his dad, like. But yeah, they're a decent side, aren't they? They're very good. But again, it comes back to like we don't fear them. It's like I've saw people online going, like people are saying, "Oh, are we scared of the?" I'm like, "How are you scared of them?" Like obviously these are the games where it's only Bournemouth, but it's Bournemouth in like a massive amount of form. Like they beat Man City there, they beat Arsenal there, they fucking absolutely battered Forest there, they beat Newcastle. At their gaff, so it's like fucking hell. They're absolutely. Like, it's not luck at this stage. That's what I'm trying to say. Like it's a great run of form,
and it's been going on for over a year. They've been playing really good stuff for over a year. They're such a good team. All of that said, you still look at us.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just luck, but like you look.
We're first in the XG.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go. The X and the table.
The X and the G are absolutely fucking flying for us. But yeah, it's one of them. Like we rested and. I think Slot surprised us all with the PSV fucking squad, didn't he?
There was Mickey in there big time.
I think most of us were surprised. So everyone's had like a massive rest, so we can come back in. I think Slot did actually say after the game, like this is the first time probably in my career where I've looked ahead to the next game after this game for the first time. I think that speaks volumes about how like high he like ranks this in terms of like importance
and
going
into. Fucking liar he is. They all are though, Mick. Don't worry.
Yeah, but
they all do it.
No, but I think he's to the point, isn't he? I think he's quite bold in that. I think he's different in that he says it completely. He calls a spade, doesn't he? So I think the way we're playing, the stuff that we've been doing. Obviously, we had a couple of draws, but then getting over the line with Brentford and then with the way we played against Ipswich, completely controlled and played them off the park. I think it's one of them. If we do go and, like I said, with the aforementioned, like the City win and the Arsenal win and the Forest win, if we do go there and we put on a performance and we get over the line, I'm expecting it to be a high-scoring game. But if we get over the line, it is like a statement in a way.
I think it is, yeah.
They're doing really well, but it's not like a massive team. But the form table, they're absolutely smashing it. So
there's little echoes to me of Leicester 19 in this one. You've got to be careful because they're about Forest as well.
We didn't
go on to win the game, so you've got to be really careful because you don't want to say. And also at this point of the season, it is a little bit different. But everyone knows we play good stuff. No one doesn't respect them in the country. If you're watching this, you don't respect Bournemouth, you're not paying attention. You know what I mean? If that's the case, everyone knows what they're good at. The difference, there's something in this though where I feel like I can pick their team. I feel like I can pick our team. I feel like I can say what their approach is going to be. And if I can say that, well, Arne Slot can say it as well. Yeah. And then he can get the lads as red. What my point is, Liverpool got no excuses now. Almost everyone who plays for Liverpool didn't play midweek. They know what Bournemouth are going to do. Slot's going to give them all the information. And this is where I think there is an echo of that 2019 thing against Leicester, where I expect all of our lads to stand up and go, we respect you. We think you're good, so watch this.
Yeah, but also the thing is, the reason the Forest game had the echoes of it was due to their table position.
Yeah.
But their playing style was just an absolute throwback. And let's have it right. We drew 1-1, but we murdered Forest. We should have won.
Yeah.
We 100. Play that game 10 times and we'll win it 8 or 9 times. Genuinely, that's how dominant we were. Second half, they didn't get out of their own half at all. That's not Bournemouth style.
No.
Bournemouth are not coming to make you play around their box. They're going to try and get at you. They're going to try and cut you. And if you're Liverpool, I just feel like that plays much more into our hands than the Forest style did. It can be so difficult and frustrating to be trying to take shots from 20 yards through 4 fellas' legs. Whereas against Bournemouth, if Liverpool put on the type of performance and the cohesive performance between players that we know, firstly know that we're capable of, but secondly that we're probably due in terms of just stamping our authority on this league title race, because we've had a wobble is definitely overselling it, by the way, because we've lost 1 game all season, but we were on a major winning run. We've had a few draws. This is the type of game where, as you've said, the players are like, no boys, you can imagine that, let's put it this way, I don't think Slot's doing much of a team talk. Van Dijk's probably saying to the lads, boys, he doesn't need to say a single word. You all know what you've got to do. And as you said, look around the changing room and look at each other and go, trust him, trust him, trust him, trust him. And then go out and just do it. And if Bournemouth do try and play their game, they'll be dangerous. But that won't help us. And if we play our game and they play theirs, there's only one real winner.
Well, I think the biggest thing is they will only try and play their game. That's why you've got so much respect for them and why it works. You know, if their team, again, look around the dressing room, they're all looking at each other going, we trust each other. But then that's why Liverpool, Josh, have got to impose themselves and have got to back themselves, back each other through the difficult moments. For me, the big one in this is there'll be moments where we need to dig each other out. And we've been great at that this season, but the way they play means that every now and again there'll be a bit of a crisis, some crisis defending, something will go wrong, someone will nick it. Well, that's the point, lads, when we all stand up and we all back each other. And for me, that's going to be the most important thing here. If we do that better than they do, then I think we're in really good shape to take the points.
Yeah, and this is another one of those games which I think probably similar to the way that we came into the Forest one with so much respect for Forest, where really like it reminds you how much quality there is in the Premier League, and where I probably disagree with what you said before about us, like, you know the way that Bournemouth are going to play, so Slot's going to know. Like, I think that's the reason that so many sides are so good in the Premier League now, is they've all got their sort of like the style of generally how they play, but they're so good at being able to adapt it in game as well.
Yeah, tweak a little bit.
Yeah, there's so many good coaches in the Premier League now who are able to do that. Like we've all heard Amorim tearing his hair out already over this United side, you know, talking about feeling like it was his 50th birthday rather than his 40th. And you still saw the way that with players.
He's
got well, yeah. He's got a quote to slaughter them every week. I haven't heard that one before.
He's brilliant. He's been really good value so far. But like, you know, that 11 that United put out against us, I'd have called them all crabs before kick-off, and suddenly he's got Ugarte and Dalot setting so many traps for us.
Fair play.
And
yeah,
Liverpool
fair
have fallen into them, and that's where that would be my concern for Liverpool going into this, and where I think they did undo themselves in the Forest game. Is they need to be prepared to suffer more in moments in games, and that's where they're digging each other out becomes more and more crucial. I think is the idea that, like, listen, I love when Virgil's barking orders and stuff at his teammates, and Virgil's the one who's constantly bailing them out. I'd like him to be going to them like, I'm not just going to shout at you all game, lads. You return the favour for me here. I want to feel like I'm being bailed out by my centre half partner, by my left back. I don't want the right back to be letting crosses in constantly and doing all these kinds of things. I don't want Clive to have any room on the edge of the box. That's up to you lads who are in front of us to make sure that never happens, and that's where I think this game will be won and lost, really, is by how much either side is prepared to suffer for long periods in this game. Because one thing I can guarantee, and I could say, and where I probably agree with you to an extent what you said before, to go back on myself a little bit, is that Iraola will have them set up to suffer loads in this game. Because any team who's worth their salt and comes against Liverpool this season will be saying to themselves, you're going to have to suffer for maybe 60 to 70 minutes of this game here. Doesn't mean that you can't win it if you have to.
It's going to be a massive one for courage, I think, Kev. Courage in everything that you're doing, courage in the way they're playing, courage in the constant approach. I often say about big games, first goal's massive. I don't think that's necessarily the case in this one. It might be the second one is. But I do feel a little bit in this one like these are two sides who are just going to knock lumps out to each other for 95 minutes and stuff's going to happen. You know, and that's where it does differ to Forest, really, in a way. Stuff is going to happen in this game, and it's going to be how everyone manages their emotions, manages the process through, the players on the pitch. We can have our emotions and we should enjoy them, though the emotions are going to be all over the place, but they'll just need to sort of take a good passenger play in the stride of a bad passenger
They don't
play.
have a Jefferson Lerma replacement yet, do they? A lad who just kicks everyone? Or
Tyler Adams.
Oh, right, okay, there you go.
Tyler Adams is he's robust, about 5'11".
Is that it?
Yeah.
Has
Has he got a good leap on him though?
He has got a good leap on him, yeah. Not as big as Big
Shrunk in my
Jefferson.
seat there.
There we go. Sorry, mate. Yeah, no, they will be aggressive, they will be forthright, they will have their periods, and it is just a matter of saying, okay, you're going to have your periods, we'll come around to the side.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit to be said in this game for playing on emotion a little bit, you know, like sometimes that clinical thing that we've done, and listen, it's worked, because look where we're sitting at the moment in terms of league table. It's great, but in a game like this, one of the things that does help is when it is a massive game, you get that extra 10% or whatever from thinking, oh, I'm having this right now. And sometimes when you're playing a Nottingham Forest, it's like they wear that out of you just through a grind. Whereas if it's bump all the time, from them as well as us, by the way, then that can get you going. And I think we've got players who I don't think will struggle to deal with that emotion. There's not a player I can think of who would think, besides Nunes, if he plays, just stay calm, you. Any of the others, like, after time, they look like they could do it at Rocket, because they're just all so chilled and laid back as they believe in themselves. But football's an emotional game, and there's no problem at all from my point of view, I don't think, of saying to them, listen, if it gets tasty out there, let's show everyone. We want the battle, no problem, mate.
I think this is where Szoboszlai is crucial, really. Is I think he's so good at the balance of those two things, of the I can stay calm because I'm the best player on the football pitch, but also the no, actually I realise this game needs that extra little bit of oomph, and I'm going to throw a tackle in there.
He's just boiling nicely, isn't he? He's just bubbled up, and he's in an unbelievable vein of form at the moment, and he's timed it well if he's going to like crescendo now into the back end of the season. 100%. And listen, this might be the type of game where I think anyone who watches him regularly now is going, when he doesn't play, you can really see how much he miss him. But it might be that this is the game where he says, no, look, watch this, I'm going to take this by the scruff of the neck, and I'm not just all running and power, I'm brilliant as well. And we've got loads of players who that could be any of the front three, it could be any of the midfielders, could be the goalkeeper, because he's not being the best at the moment, could be Van Dijk, could be Kante, it could literally be any of our players, and that's why you go into games like this against a team who's in such good form. We're still full of confidence going in.
And the other thing we've got, that they've only got 12 fit players really that he's prepared to use. He might just get Adam Smith back to play right back. It's possible he's on the bench. It's unlikely. Mick, they will not have options from the bench. You know, I'll allow for the idea that Nunes has shook the cold off, and I hope it's not the one I've had for 4 weeks. But if Nunes has shook whatever it is, a bit of illness off, we should have options from the bench in a way that should mean we can hurt them if we need to, last 15, last 20.
Yeah, we look at Ipswich, like, you're bringing players off the bench, and you're like, there's so many options in there, and there's so many good quality options in there. I think like it's going to be like you're going to have to fight fire with fire in this game. I think I agree with you boys, like, but we're going to need like I think, and Slot says this all the time, it feels like you need that element of luck as well, like you need to be clinical in those areas. You need, like, if we get a chance, it felt like that Szoboszlai goal in the Ipswich game was the first time we scored in the first 20 minutes for about 4 years. You know what I mean? When it went in, it felt like it hadn't happened for ages. So when that went in, you can breathe that little sigh of relief. And obviously it's different when it's a home game, it's an away game. But if you can get a good start going, because I think that's something that I feel like I'm always talking about, just get a good start. And that's not like just controlling the play, it's can you make a few chances, can you test the keeper, can you get a goal early, like first 20, first 30, get a goal. You know, that's easier than it sounds, you know what I mean? But it's one of them where we've got so many good players, like we've rested that many for the PSV game. There's so many players coming back in that are like now rested, but they're so good, like the likes of Diaz and Gakpo's in great form, played most of the game against PSV. Nunes, if he's fit, then the Salah come back in, there's all the big fellas come back in. But there's so many good players in there where they'll be. I think it's one of them where they may be looking at it going, oh, it's like it's going to be a free hit for us in a way, because they're like in such good form. But I feel like they may be feeling the pressure a little bit. I'm hoping anyway. In terms of like we need to continue this run of form, and they might throw the kitchen sink at them, etc. And I hope that's what they're going to do to us. Because I think, like you said, Kev, before, it's not going to be a Brentford, it's not going to be a Forest where lads are going to have the ball for 86 minutes here, just like tow it around, try and find openings, and that it's going to be one of them. They're going to be flying forward, we're going to be flying forward, and you'd like to think if that happens, we've got the firepower to outgun them basically in those areas, and we need Ali to stand up and be counted when we need him. But like obviously Van Dijk come back in. There's all in players in those areas, like Gravenberch as well, who's been fucking unbelievable this season. But you'd like to think it's going to be one of them. I've already predicted 3-2. I just feel like it's going to be a
It's an emotional roller coaster for me.
Whoever's picked this for a Saturday 3 o'clock and not on the telly, mate, is going to be having kittens if they watch this.
Honestly,
greatest game of association football ever played, and no one in England can watch it.
Yeah. And at the smallest ground.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be I don't want it to be a 3-2 where it's one of them where, I mean, they're the best games where it's 2-2 and then you score a late winner. Do you know what I mean? They're the best. They're the best games, but I just feel like they're going to. I fancy them to score a couple, but I just feel like we're going to outgun them, and I think that's. Again, like I said before, if it's going to be like a little mini statement in terms of what we can do and how good we are, then yeah, we need to stand up and be counted and do it.
There we are. It's been Friday night. It's been Neil Atkinson with Josh Sexton, with Mick Moran, with Kev Walsh. Mini statements from Liverpool at the weekend, says Mick. I'm with him 100%. I think his 3-2 might end up giving Bournemouth 2 too many. See you later on.